Hello and welcome to the Bledisloe Cup 2 2017 post-match review. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, and wow, have we just seen a cracker of a game. Nobody saw this coming, especially after the humiliating drubbing the Wallabies got in the first half last week. And joining me is a good mate from the rugby who sits a couple of rows behind me, normally at Eden Park. Ashwin, how are you doing, mate?
Doing pretty well, as you say. Watched a fantastic game of rugby, really. So, yeah, looking forward to having a chat about it.
Cool. This is going to be the Jaffa view. Okay, so it's Aucklanders only tonight. We're not going around the country. So let's. Carl, where do we start? I guess we start really at the beginning. The Wallabies came out of the blocks, and we saw Folau pick off a Damien McKenzie pass in the first minute of the game and run away to score. At that stage, I mean, we'd seen Damien McKenzie attacking the line a lot in the previous game and getting on outside shoulders. Do you think it was the people in his face that there was an element of Aussie defence early doors we saw there?
Yeah, look, you look at that movement, and there's obviously the pressure coming in from the defence on him. He wants to get the pass away quick. You get the feeling he was trying to hit the outside man, and he hasn't hit the pass, just hasn't gone high enough. And then Flowers just picked it off and gone the length of the field.
And let's face it, Folau is a tall guy. He's a big guy, so getting over the top of him is hard. Maybe another player it would have gone over.
Looked a little bit like McKenzie was sort of off balance a bit, and that would have obviously meant that the pass was a bit flatter.
Yeah, maybe that was there's that as well. It felt to me also as a bit of a. We talk a lot about the All Blacks playing, or a lot in the North anyway, about the All Blacks playing heads-up rugby and playing what's in front of them. This seemed a little bit kind of like, okay, guys, our first predetermined backs move is going to be X, Y, Z. And it felt like they were kind of playing by numbers a bit there.
Yeah, that's right. You'd have to say not a lot of vision and depth of field, so to speak, for Damien McKenzie, because he didn't see Folau coming up in the outside. As you say, it looked like it was a predetermined move. We're going ahead with it, and the pass went. And he didn't see that Folau had come up out of the line and was basically in that channel.
Yep, and then the second try, again, within the first 10 minutes, penalty, I can't remember what the penalty was for now. Wallabies kicked the corner. A bit of a messy line out, to be honest. And Hooper slips through.
Yeah, that was an interesting one, really, because it was rather unusual for the All Blacks to basically just sort of not actually come in and sort of form defence into that, what possibly was going to be sort of a little maul or just set up of a ruck. And Hooper finds there's nobody in front of him. I'll hold on to the ball, as the commentators on TV said. And it basically ran to the line. There was basically like the old parting of the sea and nobody in front. To tell you the truth, I'd have to go back and have a look at the replay to see where the defenders actually had got off to.
Well, I think what happened there was Sam Cane was a little bit out of position, and this was after he'd taken the head knock. And I guess this is where I was going to go with this one, is were they a bit slow getting Sam Cane off? He wasn't the only player who took a head knock and then was a little bit reticent about going for a head check. Some other players had to be dragged off. I think Ryan Crotty was another one that looked like he wanted to try and continue rather than go off for a check. Barrett had to be dragged off as well. So I think there might have been an element there that Sam Cane wasn't fully awake.
It wasn't at home. Wasn't all at home there.
Wasn't all at home, slipped out, and therefore wasn't covering the hole, and that's where Hooper was in, which shows you.
Good heads up play by Hooper, though, you'd have to say, because the fact is that you could tell he was basically ready to offload the ball in some manner, and then to basically say, hang on, there's nobody in front of me, so to hold on and just carry on going forward.
Absolutely, yep. and we have got a stack to go through because there's far too many things. One of the ones that if this game hadn't had been so what's the word I'm looking for? Actually, I forgot my graphics. Oh, geez, look, there you go, guys. By the way, the score was All Blacks 35, Wallabies 29. For those who didn't catch the game, so all the latest graphics from DrivingMaul and no expenses spared. Well, no expenses spent either. So the next bit though is, and it blew up. If this game hadn't been so exciting, this is the thing that would have blown up over social media. Accidental offside from the kickoff. Now, because we're in New Zealand, lots of people have gone, oh, look, there's Nigel Owens telling us how the game should be refereed. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. The guy got it wrong in the third lines test. Now, I'm going to have first dibs on this one. It's different. It's a different situation. Okay. In the lines test, the Lions player is running backwards and runs into the ball. In this case, the guy is standing stock still and catches and holds onto it. It's a different situation. It's not the same situation, and I think people need to get over that. Forget the other incident. This isn't Nigel Owens saying the other incident was wrong. He's saying in this case it was deliberate offside. There are two separate incidents. You can't read anything into it. Chill out, move on.
I don't think you're going to change anybody's mind over here, tell you the truth. We every time there's a forward pass, we still say, hey, look, Wayne Barnes, that's what a forward pass looks like.
Even though Nigel Owens missed one of your blatant forward passes in the Rugby World Cup final last year. Never mind. Okay. A little comment here on Facebook. Sorry, not on Facebook. Where am I? A little comment here on YouTube. I'm sorry, it's getting a bit late. Jared Craig said, it's playing at the ball that makes it offside. Yeah. In this case, the guy's standing stock still. The ball comes to him. He just catches it. He played at the ball. Anyway.
That's what it's going to come down to, basically, is always the interpretation of the referee. Sometimes it's obviously going to be clear and obvious whether the players played with it, and sometimes it's going to be a bit grey. Has he played it, or has the ball hit him?
Yep. At least in the other case, it was a little bit more grey. This case, there was no grey about it.
Yep.
So let's get on from there. So
next
up. Next up came the Foley try. Now, I've gone absolutely... There have been so many tries in this game. I've actually gone blank as to try to remember what this one was. Scrum. Demolished. Going backwards. Genia picks the ball up. Great little bit of heads-up play by Genia to make the break.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron Smith, bad read on that one. He started to peel off. The scrum's got dominant. He's looking at Bernard Foley already. He's left that gap on the inside for Will Genia, and Will Genia has basically picked up the ball and taken the gap and gone for it. And that's what I felt is that, and it happens so often when you get a dominant scrum, and the dominant scrum forgets to actually where's the ball and what's happening.
Absolutely. I think this is Genia definitely rolled back the years in this one. We've talked about last game. We've talked about him during the series, in the June series as well, as looking unfit, lead feet, etc. And that's certainly something you could not accuse him of today.
No, it looked like Genia revolted today, definitely. And I think a lot of the Wallaby success today was off the back of what Genia was doing. Obviously, Folau, but Genia, I think, had the bigger part in just getting that team rolling forward.
Yeah, I think in both, actually, whilst Aaron Smith was on anyway, not so much when TJ was on perhaps, but I think both teams were running off 9 today a lot rather than running off 10. And it looked like the 9s were running the game a bit more French style than sort of UK style of rugby. You didn't really, Bowden Barrett didn't seem to had a pretty quiet game for me. And I actually want to talk about his defending in a second. And Foley as well. And he had a shocker with the boot. Missed 3 conversions and a penalty, which is 9 points. And if anyone wants to do the maths of adding 9 points onto the Wallabies score, you'll see that was the difference between this game. But Genia has definitely showed he is a class that class's permanent form is temporary, and had a really good game there. Yeah, Joshua says Genia is a huge pickup for the Rebels, worth an extra win share over in the Super Rugby season for sure. So he definitely had a big game there.
Absolutely. Look, I think Checker will be sort of saying, well, we need you to perform like that every week now. Now we know that you can do it. You're not gone past your use-by date. So we want to see that every week. And if you don't, there's questions to be asked.
So a couple of questions. I want to go. So they're off the timeline now. Talk a bit about the All Blacks defence. Gerard Craig is asking D-Max tackling today. Now, I don't remember him having such a particularly bad game from a tackling point of view. I'll just quickly bring up the stats. What do you think of his defence today?
Look, overall, I can't pinpoint an individual All Black that's defending badly. I think it's for some reason their team defensive pattern, maybe with Conrad Smith and Manonu. I know it's been a couple of years now that they've left the scene, but I think it's more of an organisational thing. It's the fact that the tackles are being made, but then the defensive line isn't getting set quickly, and it's giving the opportunity for the Wallabies and when the Lions, obviously in the Lions series as well, and they can create that roll-on. And if you look at the tries, and you have to say that the Wallabies scored their tries off probably a small percentage of possession, and the fact is that they were able to get roll-ons happening. And it wasn't the fact that, again, missed tackles. It was the roll-ons that created gaps, created mismatches that they were able to take advantage of.
Yeah, Kenzie only made 3 tackles, missed 1. No one missed more than 2 tackles from the All Blacks' point of view. So from that side of things, no, I don't think tackling was an issue. 85% success rate, that's pretty good. What I found surprising though was, for me, what I saw in defence was, we've talked a lot in the past about players like Foley, about players like Beale being hidden in defence, and in this game we saw Barrett out out wide, defending rather than in the number 10 channel, which I thought was a bit of a surprise to see him being. Whether I don't know if that's being hidden, or whether they're saying, "Hey, one of our wide guys isn't fast enough."
I'll be honest, I didn't pick up on it. The fact that he was defending out a bit wider, so I can't really comment on that. I mean, in terms of the only one that I picked up actually was on the Wallaby side when we noticed that Bernard Foley was at the line-out time, at the front of the line-out in the hooker's position on a defensive throw, so that Michael Hooper could be out at number 10. That's the only one that I've noticed with the Wallabies. With the All Blacks there, no, I didn't actually notice Barrett being out wide, so I'll have to take your word on that one.
So yeah, there was at least two occasions where he was the last defender out wide.
Yep.
And one of the comments that's been made about Australia hiding Foley on defence, especially, is when it comes to turnover ball, you're not in the right position to take advantage of it. And if Barrett is going to be out on the left wing, being the last player out there outside of Ben Smith, or actually he was outside Rico Iwani. Sorry, on the left wing, outside Rico Iwani, you're not going to be in the right place to take advantage of turnover ball. And we didn't see the All Blacks in their sort of typical turnover style of play attacking really today.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a bloody good point you make. Oops, and the fact is that you're right. If Barrett's out on the wing, then as you say, turnover ball. There's the playmakers not in position to be able to take advantage. Look at where the space is on the field and run the play for both sides. Obviously, as you mentioned, for Foley as well. Somebody there coming through with that comment is the fact is that you've got to have your playmakers close for that turnover ball, because that's what you're scoring your tries off.
It is lovely, right? I'm gonna switch back to the chronological order when we'll get to halftime. Then we'll talk about some stats, because I think that was a bit of fun. Great Craig Brody is the second playmaker.
Yeah, I think I know what he means. It was like watching the game. I made a comment to my brother, and we both sort of said, like, they'll go to the right. You'll have Sam Whitelock generally on the right. They'll crash it up. They'll set the ruck ball, and there's a big wide pass, and it's Brodie Retallick that's out in midfield that's taking that ball and setting up the centre field ball, whether it's to try and. But the fact is that I felt the Aussies read it every time. Every time, they saw it. It's just like it's going wide to Brodie, and they got 2 men up on him quickly, and he was getting shut down behind the advantage line.
Yeah, and when it was a smaller guy that was tackling him, I remember I've gone blank. Big afro hair guy from the Aussies. He was tackling around the ankles, getting low, and your old traditional tackle, not trying to take Brodie Retallick on up top, where you're just going to get bounced off. Yeah. So yeah, no, they're intelligent defending as well there. So moving on, next was Rico's try, and this is exactly what I was talking about running off 9 rather than 10 at the scrum. Aaron Smith draws Genia out. Little pop pass inside, and Rico bashes over.
Oh, that's. I suppose it was interesting because it was sort of like it was justice, sort of in a sense. It was only a couple of plays before he should have scored in the corner. In saying that, I mean, geez, Rico had a great game. He really did. That try, there was still work for him to do. Aaron Smith had created that gap on the inside. But there was still it was a pretty small gap, and he had to sort of pinball through a couple of defenders to just crash over that line.
He did, yeah. Rico only hit 144 meters carrying, so he was the top ball carrier in this game. Clean breaks 3, defenders beaten 9. He had a fantastic game. Defenders beaten 9 is just crazy numbers.
What we expect from us, just one of our Blues players.
Oh dearie me!
Have to drop it in here somewhere.
Absolutely, sorry. Welcome to the Jaffa podcast, guys. But actually, let's flip back one play. Ned Hannigan getting the ball in his back, obstructing play close to his line. Jeff Wilson, is it? I don't know who's the commentator going. That's professional foul. It should be a yellow card.
Look, he was a bit vitriolic in his commentating in that scenario. I didn't disagree that it is a yellow card, but it's a manufactured yellow card and by the attacking team, and it's starting to happen more and more where you've got an offside player and you throw the ball into him. In that scenario, it's just a bit more than a penalty because obviously he's not there. Rico Ioane gets the ball without anybody in front of him. He scores the try.
I get that, but then the next comment the commentator said was, whether it was deliberate or not, hang on a second, you're trying to get a guy yellow carded for a professional foul, and you're saying he can make an accidental professional foul.
Yeah, good. That's a bloody good point. Sorry.
Sorry, you've got it.
I accidentally caused the professional foul. Sorry, my bad.
Nah, to me, the penalty was the right call. I don't think it was a yellow card. He ran through. If it hit him in the front and where you could see what he was doing and he deliberately, and he could see he was blocking the ball, then fine.
If it was Michael Hooper, we would have known it was deliberate.
Yes. Well, we're now saying Ned Hannigan isn't bright enough to deliberately do it. My question.
You may well say that. I couldn't possibly comment.
Oh dear, this is why we don't get any player interviews. I think Nigel Owen's got that one right. I don't think there's any issues there.
Nah, look, it wasn't a train wreck of a decision.
No, it wasn't. Next up, Crotty then goes and gets head knock, and before he gets dragged off, then decides to tackle Folau without the ball, giving Foley a penalty, which he had a kick at goal and missed. Which, hey, he missed quite a few tonight. So, again, are we seeing the players not getting dragged off quickly enough, or do you think that was fine?
I don't know. I don't know if the Foley's head. Sorry, you're suggesting that Foley's head knock was sort of an issue with some of his goal kicking?
No. I'm saying that Crotty got head knocked, carried on playing, then tackled a player without the ball, And I'm saying that perhaps he wasn't fully cognizant in making his...
No, I'd probably sort of go that he just felt that Folau was probably going to get the ball. We see it quite consistently. He went and tackled him. So fair penalty. But we see it happening all the time. I don't think that would have been of any head knock scenario personally. Okay. I just sort of think it was just basically, we said, looks like Flau's going to get the ball. I'll chop him down. And he hit him early, and Flau was never going to get the ball.
Then I must Nipo Lualala deserves some plaudits for that scrum. I think we're probably going back a bit here. The All Black scrum tonight was great. Actually, we'll get onto that one in a second, because first, to me, it felt like the Wallabies night when Ben Smith crashed through and couldn't put the ball down.
Yeah, there was. Look, I don't know. I mean, I was going to say, look, they got a lot of bounce to the ball, but to tell you the truth, they played a bloody good game. They really fired up. I suppose they knew what was on the line. It's not like it's the pressure's on the line every game you play. To get out there and perform and win. But though they understood that after last week's performance, A, it wasn't good enough last week, and B, it's just like, they're going to be having a lot of voices in their head saying, are they good enough? If they didn't front up this week, and front up they did. So there were a few decisions that went their way, but you make your own luck.
Yeah, you do, and they executed everything. They didn't have any disallowed tries. The All Blacks had 2 disallowed tries. They executed their things, whereas the All Blacks didn't. There were a couple of places where they could have been cleaner.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good. One of the things that I felt after the game is that the Wallabies basically, it felt like, took every chance they had, because I haven't got the stats in front of me. You do, but it felt like the All Blacks just had the ball the whole game, but when the Wallabies got the ball, they got points.
Yeah, and you go through phases. And I felt that over the last sort of year or so, I've been able to pull out a stat and go, yeah, that's kind of what won the game. You can see it's here or there. Before that, I was going through a stage where I thought, it's actually come down, it's moments win games rather than stats win games. And and especially in that first sort of 10, 15 minutes, I was like, this really feels like a moments wins games game. The Folau try, the Hooper try, they didn't come from concerted effort, definitely there was plenty of effort. It didn't come from concerted.
I know what you're trying to say. I know what
possession or territory, it felt like a moments game rather than that. But you're right. 61% possession for the All Blacks, 62% territory, and in the second half that was at 69% on both. So,
wow.
You're right. They did have the lion's share of that kind of stuff as well. And let's talk about the scrum and that final try before half-time where Aaron Smith nipped over.
Yeah, look, as an All Blacks fan, it was just like, oh my God, they've been on this line for about 5 minutes, I think, just leading up to half-time, and it just didn't feel like they were going to score. I felt the right decision was being made every time they got awarded a penalty with taking the scrum option. But obviously the negative side of your psyche, you were saying, oh geez, they're not going to make it here, they're not going to cross the line. But when they got that scrum in the middle of the post, I thought, yeah, that's going to make a difference. It's going to make it harder for the Wallabies to defend. They've got to keep all their forwards on to try and defend that scrum, and then you've got someone who, like Rico out wide, that if the ball pops out, it's going to go out to him. In the end, it was Aaron Smith in close. And it was good to finally see that he actually took the inside channel, because what we talked about before, how both halfbacks were basically just feeding, getting to the rucks and all the mauls and and feeding the ball out. I felt that it was starting to become predictable and easy to read. The defence was just drifting out onto the first 5 and out wider. And so Aaron Smith had to do what he did and basically take that opportunity with that small opening up the inside. And he sort of got Michael Hooper just slipping over a bit.
He did, and I mean, it was, that front eight. I've got to take especially the front five. I've got to take a lot of plaudits for this game. And someone said here, Nepo Lualala had a good game. Coles was solid, rock solid as well. They both were, and this. If you think that 3 out of the 5 tries that the All Blacks scored came from off the back of scrums, it shows you that the scrum was a big weapon here. And I think it's only 3.
Yeah, we again during the observation of the game, we made comment that the scrum felt quite a lot stronger with Dane Coles back in the front row, and then Nepo Lalala, we weren't really expecting. I mean, we know he's a good player. We know he's a good player, but we weren't expecting that performance out of him. And it's going to be great for all the All Blacks with backups, because he's obviously a top class prop, top level prop. You got your Moody's, you got your Franks, you got your Crockett's, even though he's boring. But but with Charlie leaving, and you've got Nepo Lalala now coming on board, so and he's really did step up today, and he was that cornerstone of the scrum today.
Yeah, and as you say, when him and Coles went off, and we had Taylor and gone blank as to which was the Hames.
Oh, you had
Hames go on.
And Hames come on, yeah.
Yeah, so fantastic. Then it wasn't as dominant, and yes, there were changes on the Australian side as well. But yeah, those guys definitely were keeping it in charge on that side.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk some stats as we reach the halftime break. I'm going to read out some stats here and then ask you kind of what you think the scoreline would be. So, as I said, possessions to New Zealand 61%, territory 62%, clean breaks 16 for New Zealand, only 7 for Australia. Defenders beaten 32 for New Zealand, 13 for Australia. Turnovers conceded 17 for New Zealand to 11 for Australia. That evens things up a little bit. Penalties 5 to New Zealand, 5 conceded by New Zealand, 12 conceded by Australia.
Yeah, you'd expect the scoreline that we saw last week in Sydney. That's what you'd expect. And I think it was, as you said, it was those handling errors that basically let the Wallabies stay in the game. That's all you can really say. It just felt, as I said before, the All Blacks had the ball all the time, and it was frustrating little errors, and that were basically causing them to not get over the line. And I think they did well to not let that get to them. Yeah,
but not only did they have the ball, but they were also breaking the gain line. Now, yes. And that's a stat I don't have, unfortunately, the gain line percentage, which would be good. Where but when Australia only made 76% of their tackles, and yet we're saying their defence was much better this week. Which
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. It's a difficult one to criticise the team about their defence when they didn't get any points scored against them.
But yeah, both sides here let in 5 tries at the end of the day. So defensively, there's whilst it wasn't the calamity that we saw in Sydney. Defence clearly was still. It definitely has more work to do on both teams' side of things.
Look, if we were Stephen Jones, we would say, "Oh, look, they're playing basketball."
There is an element of that. Now, the other one I want to do is have a quick chat about turnovers conceded, and this was predominantly in the first half. But David McKenzie comes second in the charts with 3 turnovers conceded, which will include obviously that intercept pass in the first minute. But Sonny Bill Williams, 5 turnovers conceded in this game.
Yeah, look, I mean, taking off the All Blacks jersey and putting the Blues jersey on, it's been one of the frustrating factors of Sonny. He is a phenomenally good player. I'm not going to be a basher, and say that I'm going to bash him. The fact is that, I just would like to see him secure the ball instead of waving it around occasionally, making a better calls on when to look for that miracle offload versus when to tuck it up and make sure he secured the ball properly. That would be nice. But then he will get that miracle ball away every now and then. I mean, we go back to that World Cup final where he passed off to Nonu and he'll magic moments. But you got to weigh it up against how many times does that happen versus how many times are you turning over the ball in the game.
Yeah, I think also in the first half as well, when Australian line speed was at its fastest, he was. One of the things that the All Blacks try and do with Sonny Williams is that very lateral ball at the last minute as he crashes into the line, and he was being met man and ball a lot, and he just didn't have time to catch the ball as well. So I think there were quite a few of them where he was just not getting his hands on it more than necessarily him had it, waving it round thing and losing it. I think it was.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's probably a fair comment to make. And that probably comes back to, we look at the whole Brodie Retallick in centre field and then hitting Sonny Bill on a close defensive line as the fact is that, okay, so the defensive teams are the opposition starting to read that, and it's just like, so they're rushing up on those. I mean, they're using a rush defence anyway, especially in that first half. So it's, that it's hey, we're going to do a flat ball to Sonny Bill. Let's get up on him and put pressure on him.
There's a comment here, and I can't remember this, but Anton Brown had a most egregious offload in this game, bombed a try. I don't remember that one. Do you remember?
This is going to sound really weird. I remember making a comment along those lines, but I can't remember the play. So,
cool.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Actually, it was when Beauden Barrett made a break down the right hand side, and he had Hooper on him, and he actually passed a bit early to Leonard Brown. He'd just come on the field. He had 5 All Blacks on the inside. He tried to throw the pass, and the ball went forward. So it was a case of really should have been looking at a bit of patience there, especially with 5 All Blacks around him to secure the ball. So a bit of patience required.
No, now you mentioned it. Yes, I remember. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he tried to get back out wide to
yes, yeah. That's right.
Yep. Another one of those sort of talking about out wides. There was a time where Folau got the ball and cut out wide and broke the tackle, and then couldn't quite get the offload to Dame Hewitt. Guy gone blank as to say his full name. The Australian Helipeti, that's it. Helipeti. To me, there was a bit of sideways running there from Folau, and he closed off the space. I think there might be. I do think this game could have done with some more direct, straight up running to fix the defender. A lot. I think too many players were trying to hit that outside shoulder and the outside arc. And were eating the space.
Yes, for the outsides, and we see it continually where the guy is basically just going sideways, easy to defend because you just drift across, and there seems to be a hesitance for that outside man to sort of cut to actually to come back inside. So there's no option there. So you're right, absolutely. All you're doing is chewing up the space.
Yeah, I think we saw that quite a bit. And I think both teams will be working on that one. So let's move on to the second half then. We had the Beauden Barrett head check. Again, he had to be dragged off rather than actually wanting to go off. And then the line-out maul try that wasn't. Any thoughts on that one?
There was the Retallick one?
Yeah, the Retallick one.
Yeah. It was an interesting call by Nigel, actually. My mate Nigel. I'll call him by his first name. He actually called it a try first. Because he actually said, any reason I can't, and then all of a sudden he says, he sort of had a bit of a break, and then he says, try, no try. Once he said try, no try, then obviously the TMO was going to have to find actual evidence of the grounding. Well, everybody could see there was no, you could fairly assume that the ball was grounded, but it has to be visual evidence, and there was none.
Yeah, you could see it held up for a long time, and then suddenly it just rolled over, and you're like, well, there's no space for anything else other than the ball under him before the ground. Therefore, right. It's got to be there.
Got to be a try, but there's no visual evidence.
There's no visual evidence, no.
Yep.
So
fair call. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to be consistent. If it was the other way around, you'd want to see the same decision made. And you'd say, look, as long as it's consistent, and this decisions are being made that way all the time, then fair call.
Yep. Then I started to get a bit kind of excited, and so my notes are running out here. But 22 phases before Ben Smith goes over.
Yeah. Phenomenal, actually. It's just like, again, as an All Black supporter, you just get that feeling, God, we're not going anywhere. And then all of a sudden, bang, there's that little half break. And they were just half breaks. They weren't anybody making a really big break. They were half breaks, and then they got the momentum, the roll forward. And then eventually it's sort of like the pressure told on the Australian defence, and Ben Smith gasses it and scores.
Yeah, I think for about 20 of those phases, you had a full number of Aussies up in a line and fully fanning across the field. I think in the 21st and the 22nd phase, you started to suddenly get one or two players out wide that weren't there, and the overlaps started to appear. But it took 20 phases and I think I saw two props, and they were both reserve props. I mean, they both come off the bench, get up and go, plod back. You're like, no, this is exactly what's going to lose you the game.
Exactly, yes. You just come on. You can't let the side down. They put in a brilliant effort. Doesn't matter. You're sucking in the big ones. You get up. You get back in that defensive line. It's interesting saying it's 20 phases until the cracks started appearing. Again, obviously wearing the old eye patch as an All Black supporter, you're sort of going, stop going side to side, pick and go. You're not going anywhere. You have little faith, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, both sides I felt actually varied. Did some pick and goes, did spread it wide, and did vary where they were attacking. So you had to have your full. Everyone had to be up, and everyone had to be active on defence. You couldn't defend narrow. You had to defend both wide and narrow from both sides.
It's true, but it's just like, although they lost the game, I actually felt that the defensive effort by the Wallabies tonight was absolutely fantastic. I know the stats say that they missed quite a few tackles, but obviously they covered those tackles up. Whoever missed it, there was somebody getting in behind to make sure they chopped the next, got that person who was missed. As you said, those stats would indicate that game should have blown out a long time ago.
Yep. Now we're getting asked a bit of a question here on the sideline from Ian Gray. Hi, Paul. Do you think that Arnie Surveyor will come into the mix soon, or will he perennially be a bench impact player?
Yes, that's an interesting one. My own gut feeling is that he'll become that impact player, and rather than a reserve, he's an impact player. And we talk about this in the office with Damien McKenzie, just digressing a little bit, is the fact is that we sort of see him becoming that impact player. So yeah, Artie Sevilla, as long as Sam Cane's putting in that, because he is a defensive brick wall. Sam Cane sometimes uses his head, obviously, and incorrectly to make that defence. But as long as Sam Cane's healthy, you see Artie Sevilla being on the bench and coming off as an impact player. And I think there's been other players that Aaron Smith, TJ, that mix. You can't start an Artie and bring Sam Cane on because Sam Cane's not an impact player. So it's unfortunately for Artie, he comes on and he's just a dynamic, sort of a ball of dynamism. He's dynamic.
Dynamism. Anyway,
yeah, that's the one.
A couple of comments in the side here. Kane is too good. Keep Artie on the bench. Artie was a bit weaker on defence, but he was constant handful on offence. Kane has too much grunt in the tackle. Now, to add on to this, Kane is the next All Blacks captain-elect as well. He will be replacing Kieran Reid as the All Blacks captain. That's how Hansen has things lined up anyway. Now, obviously, it's going to depend on who the next coach is, but that's but Sam Cane at the moment, as long as he's in, then Artie is going to be an impact player. But I think we will see Sam Cane getting benched. Okay, it's 2 weeks to the next game, but he's gone off concussed in this one. I think there'll be a good chance he will be benched in the next game and give Artie a start.
It'll be interesting actually because if Sam Cane is benched, obviously, I'm guessing, a Matt Todd starts to come back into the picture. So then when you start to get Matt Todd coming into the picture, do they sort of say, oh, actually, no, we'll start with Matt Todd and we'll have Artie still coming off the bench? That'll make some Crusaders fans pretty happy.
Wow, I hadn't thought about it that way. We'll see. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, but is Matt Todd the next guy? Maybe if that happens, then Artie is clearly an impact player, and that's his role.
The other thing is that I sort of think that Artie's still a young player. He's I think 23, is he? I think.
Oh, geez, you now really are sending me off to go and find out the on the stats.
You're going to have multiple screens.
I do have multiple screens.
Oh, you do?
23 years and 316 days.
Oh, yeah. See on you.
Sorry, just plug that out. I just have to remember that one. So clearly, yeah, very nearly 24.
Yeah. And so he's still got a lot of miles in that All Black jersey to come.
If he doesn't go and take the European euro or pound, of course.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, the guys that are in a black jersey and seen as being, well, for want of a better term, because he never owned a black jersey, but owning a black jersey, I think he owns a black jersey, and whilst he's got that, the NZRFU will be able to fend off the Euros. That's when you start becoming fringe. It sort of becomes an issue.
That's true. There was a question here: how can Kane be the next All Black captain-elect when all season we've talked about lack of leadership in Chiefs and culture issues? Yes, that is true. But Sam Cane was given the captaincy at the Rugby World Cup, which is why I think he is the next captain elect.
Was he? Was it? Hang on, or was it Ben Smith?
At the Rugby World Cup, Sam Cane captained the against Namibia or whoever it was.
I'll bow to your superior knowledge on that one.
Hence, that's why I decided he was the next captain-elect, because he was given that role.
Yep.
I don't think Ben Smith will be the next captain because I think he's too old.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, the only one that I was sort of thinking, in my mind, before you mentioned Sam Cane, it was Dane Coles.
Yep. Dane Coles is the other one because he obviously captains the Hurricanes as well. So you've got the Chiefs and the Hurricanes captains there.
Yeah, but he just seems to be, to me, he just seems to be that follow me, type leader that the All Blacks seem to always want to put in that position. That you go from your Richie to your Kieran's, both follow me type leaders. And you look at today, Kieran Reid made the mistake at the 75th minute mark to let Beale score the try under the post. He rushed up out of defence straight away from the kickoff. He's the one that got that kickoff, tapped it back, and scored the try to get back in front.
Making up for his mistakes. A couple of comments in the. And I think that Coles is a much better option. Coles Whitelock also. Not sure how old Whitelock is. He looks old, but
he does look old. But again, I actually think that he's not that. I'm sort of thinking about 28.
Exactly, he is 28, so therefore he's too old to be an ex-captain.
Still got 2 World Cups in him.
Ooh, no.
Why not?
Really?
Why not? Yeah, he'll be 30 at the next one, and then he could be 34 at the one after that. 4 World Cups.
See, Sam Cane's 25, much closer. Anyway, someone might suggest we've head off on a tangent here. So 22 phases, Ben Smith try. Obviously, we talked about that because of the how they had to wear down the props. Basically, the props had to get tired. I did hear a stat somewhere that the ball can only be in play for about 3 minutes before players start getting just too knackered. And so some teams have and that was a European quote, not a Southern Hemisphere one. So it might be higher here because we have seen some very long periods of play in New Zealand. But clearly, if we're getting up to 22 phases, we're heading towards that 3 minute mark, which is where the players need a breather. Otherwise, they will be getting into a problem.
Oxygen deprivation.
Exactly. So yeah,
that was big words for this time of night.
It's getting late. Are we not? We've totally skipped over all the pre-game issues about lights going out and.
Look, I'll be honest. I didn't know about the lights issue because we were watching Mr. Popper's Penguins, and because before the game started, and it's like oh, but 7:30, flick it over, and it's just like, what's going on? The Wallabies are running off the field. There's 3 minutes to we start singing the anthem. So then I sort of found out about the lights going off. I understand.
Well, you heard that, and I had to eat my curry before getting away from the game away from Eden Park, so I was in the car at that point. So apparently the lights went out, which disrupted everyone starting up, and then the Wallabies went to the dressing room to get changed, and the All Blacks didn't. When the Wallabies came back out again, they were like, "Well, why are the All Blacks still out here? We're going to start warming up again," and it all just became a bit of a mess. But luckily, it didn't seem to impact either side too much actually when the game started. So we're going to ignore that.
Yeah, look, I think it definitely upsets you mentally when something like that, a delay like that happens. But at the end of the day, it's an impact to both sides. So it's, I don't think anybody gets an advantage out of it anyway. And as you said, it didn't appear to be an impact on the game at all from the start.
Yeah, exactly. So then obviously we've talked very quickly. And I think Beale actually had a good game today. To me, he stood up. You talked about his try and how Reid got himself defensively out of the action. But I thought Beale did some good runs defensively, did his job as well. I've always thought he's perhaps needs to be at 15 rather than 12 because he needs a space to run onto. But I thought tonight he had a good game.
Yeah, look, I suppose we come back to that defensive side because they did a hell of a lot of it. And, from what we understand, you're 12, you're 13, 12, for my mind in particular, is reading the defence and setting the defence up. And obviously he was doing a lot of that. I thought Foley was a bit anonymous, personally. Again, it might have just been something I missed. But it meant that for... Curtly Beale was doing quite a lot of the decision making.
Yeah, no, I thought Foley didn't have a great game. Just looking at the stats, though, who would you bet was the top tackler in this game?
Jeez. Well, it's going to have to be a Wallaby, isn't it?
It is. Yes,
it is a Wallaby.
In fact,
if you're doing Moneyball, you'd go Michael Hooper.
The top 6 players are all top 6 tacklers are all Wallabies, so Hooper comes in with 11, which is pretty good going. Same as Arnold and McMahon. Politanu had 10 coming off the bench, which is pretty impressive.
Yes, coming off the bench, that's bloody impressive, actually.
Ned Hannigan, 13. And the guy who put in the most work defensively, Bernard Foley, 14 tackles.
Wow. Okay. Maybe that's why he was anonymous in attack. That's a huge workload for a little tiny back. So that was so Foley, I was amazed that he did that many tackles. I'm not sure who that they were against. Hopefully they're against small people, otherwise he's going to be in a lot of pain tomorrow. Well, if he was defending in that inside channel, it would have been some pretty big guys coming at him.
Yep. And then on the All Black side, Bowden Barrett with 8 tackles was the top tackler as well. So kind of interesting that the 2 fly halves are the top tacklers on both sides.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, like with especially with Bowden, because you were saying you made an observation that he was actually defending out quite wide as well.
Yeah, I mean, at least I can remember him tackling the winger twice. So that's 2 of his tackles out wide. So that was kind of impressive. I don't know how long we've been.
It's just like, yeah, it's just to say, it's just like you sort of do almost expect your first 5 to make quite a few tackles, especially when you're going up those inside channels. So you're going to have to hope that they got good, strong shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you normally want to get one of but historically, you'd want one of your loosies in there to take the strain off them. And to be fair to Artie, if whilst Burden Barrett made 8, Dane Coles came in with 7, Louis Lala 7, Metallic 6, Whitelot 6, Squire 6, Reed 7, Sevilla 7. So all of your effectively starting pack made 6 or 7 tackles pretty much. So they did all their work as well. And then obviously at the end, we had that kind of only the All Blacks can do it wonder try.
Ireland again, wasn't it? That one. Not quite after the hooter, but near enough to it. It's just like, yeah, it's, what can you say? I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I just got no words for it. It's just like, oh my God, I've done it again. That's all that came to my mind when I was, yeah. And I think the commentary team on Sky made basically the same comments, not in those words, but basically, oh my God, they've done it again. And that's what the All Blacks do. The game isn't over until that final whistle is blown.
Very true. And they did say OMG, I'm pretty sure, on commentary. They didn't quite go as far as actually spelling it out, but yes. So you say Reed breaks the line, offload to Barrett, who offloads someone else, who then offloads.
Yeah, so it's Barrett off to Perenara, and then I think Perenara came back into Ben Smith.
Yep.
Or was it back to Barrett?
No, Barrett. Well, I think Barrett actually. And that's how they won it. So at the end of the day, a very good game, some lovely play, some interesting things to talk about. Foley's kicking obviously lost it because leaving 9 points out there. But there are a bunch of. Have you still got time, or are you?
Yeah, no, I'm sweet as.
Cool. So we've got a few things here on the sidelines that they want to talk about. Then, do you reckon Aussies are better than South Africa this year?
Look, I mean, if you go back a week, you would have said, "Oh, these guys are going to get blown off the park by Argentina and South Africa." It's going to be cliched stuff here. They've got to back it up. That's what it is. Can they back it up? If they can back it up, then there's that performance can I won't say will, can beat South Africa. That performance will beat Argentina because Argentina will lose the plot at some stage in the game. We know that happens. But that performance tonight can beat South Africa. And it's a case of will they turn up? We're used to that, aren't we, Paul, because we go to watch the Blues. Will they turn up?
Oh, we know the answer to that one is generally no. So there we go. Some interesting comments here about saying that perhaps having DMAC at fullback was the reason that we didn't see that Bowden Barrett was going more wide rather than going back to defend, because perhaps Ben Smith gets pulled up into the line a bit more. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing is that obviously is Bowden Barrett able to go, he goes out wide because you've got DMAC that can come in and play a first 5 position. The ball goes out wide, and the next play you've got Bowden Barrett out there. Maybe you could look at it that way as well.
Yeah, if they defended left and right, then on counter attack you got one on both sides. Another one here. What about Limo Sopoanga? Played really well. Is there any chance he overtakes Barrett before the World Cup?
Well, I think they're pretty settled. Bowden Barrett's going to have to sort of fall off the pace quite a bit. In saying that, I think the chat that we've had with our fellow rugby mates is Bowden Barrett doesn't seem to, with the Lions series and even the last 2 games, doesn't seem to be right at the top of his game. He's not far off it. I mean, you look at some of the things he's done tonight, and they were pretty good. But he still doesn't seem to be quite that edge to his game there.
Well, it sounds a bit strange to say second season syndrome, but this was last season, 2015 Rugby World Cup, 2016, the first time he is really the starter out of Carter's, out of Cruden's shadow. He is the man, and so people have got to see a lot of what he does. And I think defensive systems have changed. So this might be a bit of second season syndrome. He's not given the space because people are just so scared of his pace.
Yep, so, absolutely. And on the flip side of that, is one of the person commenting, asking about Lima, is that fact is that that's fantastic. That he's there. He's definitely put. Today's performance, even though it was a cameo off the bench, was putting pressure on Beauden Barrett. Say, you drop your levels. I'm here. I'm ready to take that 10 jersey. I'm ready to step up. Yeah, and to me, something that was kind of interesting actually tonight is we talk a lot, I think about and talk a lot about combinations of players and how that's really important. And yet tonight, it just suddenly clicked to me. We have the Highlanders fly half playing with the Hurricanes. The Highlanders scrum half starting with the Hurricanes fly half, and on the bench we have the Hurricanes scrum half with the Highlanders fly half. Yep. And it's interesting. It was interesting when Sopoaga came on. You just felt like there was a sort of just that little bit more slicker connection there. And there always will be. There's the number of hours that Aaron Smith and Sopoaga have spent throwing the ball backwards and forwards. You just can't. There's no way of replicating that. So I guess my only point about this would be then that you might want to switch it around. Either TJ starts with Beauden or Aaron starts with Sopoaga to get that connectivity back at some stage, rather than play. It just seems an odd. If they do that, they would only go with Aaron Smith and Lema Sopoaga starting, because I don't think that they see Aaron Smith as being able to come off the bench. Oh. He's just not an impact player. He just doesn't perform when he comes off the bench. Wow. Okay. Interesting thought. I was with Gatland when last year he said that Aaron Smith is the best player in the world. I think he is that good as a scrum half. The idea that he couldn't come off the bench shocks me. I think it's something he could do, but there we go. I think it's a headspace issue. It's the fact is that I'm the top dog. I start, and if he doesn't, then it's just like he can lose his biscuit. There is a bit of bow wow. Yes, I can see that. Yeah, he needs to be the top man. And top man. Yeah, that's it. Yes. Danny Tanner makes a good point. Great game and all, but how bad is the All Blacks handling this year? Worst it's been for a long time. Oh, 100%. The most frustrating thing. Look, we've played 5. Let's look at it this way. We've played 5 test matches this year, and we nearly got to the point where we were only won 2. That was a close game tonight, and the reason why it was we've only won 2 is because our handling, for some reason, is not to the standard that we expect from the All Blacks. And obviously we won't get into an argument about it at this stage, but you could say that they lost the Lions series because of their handling. You could say they lost the Lions series because someone couldn't kick, and also someone got a red card. But there is that as well. But yeah, you're right. The handling has been off here. 2 very different halfbacks. TJ arguably the best attacking halfback in the world. Yeah, that's also true from Danny Tanner there as well. I'm not sure why the handling is off this year compared to last year. Really, yes, we have got a new centre combinations in Sonny Bill Williams with Crotty and Anton Brown. But in some ways, that's more settled than last year, where we had Moala. I've gone blank. Look, at the end of the day, to tell you the truth, the only new combination really that's there that hasn't been settled is the centre pairing. And to sort of like, I wouldn't put it down to that. I'd say it's not the fact that there's a new centre pairing and they're bidding in or anything like that. There's just something, their handling has just not been good this year, and that's across the team. So even if you sort of said, the centre pair's bedding down, well, what's happening with the rest of the team? What's happened to their hands? And I say it's also strange that it was that I say that last year we didn't see this, and yet we had much more turnover of players. Whereas actually this year it's been much more settled and we've seen it more. Because we've had 3 centres this year, whereas last year we had about 5 or 6. And we weren't seeing the same issues. So yeah, it's surprising. Do you think that they're actually just trying to play too much rugby? And then the fact is that just maybe at times settling it down and just doing the pick and goes, doing the basics, because it basically is that the All Blacks, it feels like at every opportunity are trying to penetrate, are trying to create something. And sometimes just need to settle down.
I remember the first All Blacks test against Wales last year, and the crowd around me, which is, let's be honest, you guys,
Save the Wales.
going and we're not farming Kiwis, going absolutely catatonic, that the All Blacks were just trying to play too much rugby and hadn't earned the right to go wide.
Yep.
And I think that is part of their mindset, is that we can play this way, but they don't always earn it. And you're right, perhaps they do need to earn it a bit more there. Another good point here is Anthony Brown looks better at 12. Yes. There is a...
Yeah, sorry, you go.
You're going to grumble. There does seem to be a bit of picking. We seem to have lots of 12s and very few 13s at the moment in New Zealand. Sonny Bill, Crotty, maybe Anthony Brown, George Mawala. You've got Lau Mape. All of these guys are good 12s. I'm not sure how many 13s we've got in the country at the moment.
Can't disagree with you on that one, tell you the truth. That's basically it. We've got lots of 12s and we just pushed one of those 12s into 13.
Yep.
That's it.
So some people suggesting that Good Hugh might come through next year.
Yeah, look, and it's interesting because he had a strong season this year, obviously, with the Crusaders, and we'll see how he goes next year. He's on the radar. We'll see how second season syndrome kicks in. That'll be the judge. That's a good judge of all the players, as to how they go in that second season.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was definitely we saw Rico start at 13 for the Blues and then get shifted out. He's always played 13 for Auckland in the past, so it's going to be interesting to see whether he stays out wide or he comes in at some point as well. I've heard some people talk about Julian Surveyor saying that look. He's getting too old to be a winger, which seems just crazy, and he needs to move. He needs to move into the centres, like other players have done. And maybe we'll see that over Rico's career, he moves closer and closer in. We'll see.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely. Rico's temporary on the wing. Rico's definitely going to get into 13 at some stage. As Julian goes, look, Julian has basically got the future is in his hands. It's his work rate, and it's really obvious. I think everybody's aware of it. It's not a secret. It's his work rate that he needs to work on, and I don't think that he's out of the picture. He just needs to show that he can get around the field and get his work rate up.
No, I disagree. I think Julius is out of the picture. I think he's out of the picture in the same way that players like Rocco Coco seem to suddenly just disappear from being scoring tries for fun. And Rocco Coco's cousin, I've gone blank as the guy's name because of the S.
Sidovini,
there you go. Those two guys had phenomenal starts to their All Blacks career, and you thought these guys are here forever. And they just suddenly went bang and just were off. And so I think that's, for me, I think Julian Surveyor's gone.
Oh, it's just the only thing with Julian is that, I mean, like, if we look at tonight, we actually had two greyhounds, for want of a better term, on our wings, so it's a different. It's a bit different makeup for an All Blacks wings duo from the last few seasons, and the fact that we've generally for quite a few years had quite a blockbusting winger on one wing and a greyhound on the other. So whether they at some stage go back to it, you could be right about Julian. His bus may have moved on, but yeah. So it's, I suppose. Yeah, you could be right on that one.
Yeah, the bus has left the station. Maybe so. I still think Rico is perhaps he's not as powerful as the Julian Surveyor, but he is still a powerful runner. And I think it still is a kind of powerful-ish runner and a fullback, or as the two wingers, which is why your right wingers always Ben Smith, Naymel and the Scudder, Dag. It's always one of those.
The second fullback type scenario.
Second fullback, right. And that goes all the way back to Corey Jane. I mean, Corey Jane was also a fullback as well. It's been that for years.
Well, he was Corey Jane was actually a fullback that ended up on the wing.
Yep. Which is what Dag has become in some ways, what Milne and Scudder also as well. Cool. Any other things you want to talk about?
Look, I just want to go back to the fact that I was I don't know why, because maybe I'm getting older and I'm something to do with that. But I was actually really glad that the Wallabies turned up and gave it a good fight tonight. I wasn't really looking for, although we talked about it at the fantastic Auckland-Northland game today, that, we weren't expecting this game that we saw. We were expecting the All Blacks to go 50 points. But I think for World Rugby, it was great. It was a great spectacle, and so hopefully the Wallabies can build on it. At the end of the day, we don't really want to... I want to watch the All Blacks win every day. I don't care if it's by 1 point or by 50 points. I want to watch them win. But I also want to see competition. I don't want to see them walking over all the time, just occasionally, and in World Cup finals.
No, it was very good to see the Wallabies front up and come here and win. I must say, I did have a question for you all lined up after about 20 minutes, which is going to be: is this the worst All Blacks season in living memory? After the fact they've lost more than one game, they've lost 2 games and drawn a game. Is this the worst ever? I think, but that wasn't to happen in the end. So yeah.
No, we can go back to the Blackadder captaincy days, I think.
So anyway, thank you very much for joining me, Ashwin. Do you want to let to know people where they can get hold of you on social media, or do you want to remain incognito?
Oh no, I think I'm pretty well open and out there. Look, I just you can catch me at what is it, at NZ Fatso on Twitter. That's there. And you can see my comments coming through every now and then, on probably frustration and in colourful language. Hey, Paul.
Yep. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you very much for being on.
Thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to come and talk, and I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, fabulous! I will have you back. Don't worry. And thank you very much for keeping the language family orientated, as we don't always behave ourselves at the game. Anyway, I've been Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. You can find me at DrivingMaul on Twitter. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast on your favourite podcast listener, whichever app that might be. Obviously, it's look for #RugbyChat on iTunes. I will be back tomorrow, probably flying solo after the Argentina South Africa game, with a post-match review for you there as well. So do check in for that. Good night, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us.
See ya.